Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. The past few days in American politics has been very eventful, and a lot of things have definitely happened that have changed the way people view certain candidates and the way people view our nation as a whole. On Saturday, Donald Trump was almost assassinated. They missed him by the ear, and no matter whose side you're on, I think it is horrible that this happened because someone in the crowd did end up losing their life. And this is definitely something that is not really unique to this time and era. It has happened quite a lot. The last time an attempted assassination happened was 1981. But no matter what and where it happens and what party it happens to, I think it is a tragedy in itself, and really shows us how divided we can be as a nation when we should be together as one country, not divided along party lines, but together along as Americans together. And I think that, an assassination attempt on Donald Trump was a very close one to begin with, and we can definitely go into how, it could have been stopped and all that, but this video is for purposes regarding events as a whole and how they will affect the presidential map, because I think that this event will end up affecting Trump more positively. But either way, on Monday night, the RNC began, which is also a very important important 3 days for the Republicans, because they did nominate President Trump officially to run again for president. And they ended up nominating JD Vance as the vice president to Donald Trump. And many people are going to say it's good, and many people are going to say it's bad. He does have his ups and downs. JD Vance is only 39 years old, so he's definitely that new blood that many people have been looking for. A lot of people have wanted someone younger and newer, and JD Vance was among one of the youngest to be able to do that, besides Ramaswamy. But I think that JD Vance, coming from the state of Ohio, is probably a big reason why he has been chosen as that VP. I think Donald Trump right now wants to lock up those Rust Belt states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And I think that he wants to lock up those states more or less than Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada, because the polls are already showing those states being much more favorable to him than those Rust Belt states. So that might be, where he's coming from. Rubio is from Florida, so that's not really going to help too much in the state of Florida. And then Burgum's from North Dakota. I think that Vance's name is much more out there in the Rust Belt, so that's why he might be picking him. And also, I think he might be picking JD Vance to kind of pass that torch, because he only could serve one term, so I guess he wants JD to run in the 2028 election. I guess, take that torch from him and become the next president that, kind of follows that kind of populism message that Donald Trump did have. He wasn't always a supporter of Donald Trump. You remember back many years ago that he actually did not like Trump, but, people change as times change, and he became one of Trump's greatest followers after all those years of not really liking him at all. And you can see on live TV him saying those words, but nowadays it's a completely different story. And he only has been a senator for about 2 years, since 2022 when he was elected. Faced a pretty good challenger, and he was able to win by around 6 percentage points. So that's no surprise right there. And also, he only has 2 years of experience, as I discussed. So, people don't really have too much of a judgment on his kind of policies yet, because he's only been around for such a short amount of time. So I think now is the time where he has to get out his name more positively in order to, win over some more voters. And I really think the VP choice is not really the biggest thing that matters. I think people overestimate the impact of a vice president. Like Kamala Harris was super unpopular to begin with. No one really liked her, and Joe Biden still was able to win. Now I think, Kamala Harris being so bad as popular as always, and Vance probably being more popular than her, it's going to end up evening out either way. It'll still be a Trump versus Biden rematch, but with Vance and Harris included to that ticket. Now, before I fill out this new map based on what our newest findings and all the events that have happened since Saturday, check out the poly market over here, and it shows that Trump has a 72% chance of winning. Biden only down now to 17%, 112 days left, and we can see here all the competitive states are actually like almost all in safely in Trump's column, like Wisconsin 63% chance, Michigan and Pennsylvania are 65% chance, and then you have a lot of Democrat states that haven't flipped this one since 1972. Republicans haven't won this one since Bush. Same with the state of New Mexico and the state of New Hampshire, but all of these states states right now, especially Minnesota and New Hampshire, are in those mid 50s. You have Virginia in the mid 60s. New Mexico, it's 72. And you have Maine also at 62. So this is definitely not good at all for the Democrats, since even though JD Vance has been picked, and I see some people on Twitter and everyone kind of saying that this might have been the worst choice, but I believe that's not also the case. I don't think it would have been my first choice. I think Youngkin would have been a better choice, but I don't think this was like a disastrous choice at all. I don't think people are very much over-exaggerating the negative effects that this is going to have, but even so, the poly market updated since yesterday. It's been some time, and we can see here the presidency 72% chance for Trump, the Senate, the House. The Republican sweep is more likely than not to happen at this point. And also, we haven't seen polls after the pick and after the RNC because it's still going on. And we also do not really have too much post-assassination polls, but attempted assassination polls, but we can see here the polls that have come out in the late stages of June and early July are all extremely favorable towards Trump, and only one poll has had him down, and he has actually consistently held his lead by around 2 to 3 percentage points, and in the five-way race he also leads by a pretty considerable amount. As we can see here, he leads by 4.1%. Every single poll has him up by a decent amount over here. So we can see here that Trump is going to continue to have his lead, and we're going to see after the RNC, we expect him to get a little bit of a boost, and most people do expect that from RNCs and DNCs. They usually give that candidate a good boost since they get their name out there more. But we're going to continue to see that, and if that happens over here, I think this could be even worse for Joe Biden. But filling out this map now, I think the changes that are been made to the safe states don't really impact the map too much. I think all the states that are usually safe are going to be safe. Now more than ever, the states of Iowa and Ohio are going to be extremely safe. I think the states of Iowa and Ohio, especially the state of Ohio, can be up to a 15-point win at this point, maybe even closer to 20 because of the appeal that the senator from that state will have, of course. And Trump and Vance will start at 149. Biden and Harris, I think, will still take all these states by a safe margin, although a lot of states that I've not mentioned up in the West Coast and the state of Illinois will be a lot closer. I think Washington and Oregon are going to be, closer to that 12-point margin, but not quite. And then the state of Illinois will also be there. I haven't filled out New Jersey and New York like last time because I believe that they will stay under 12 percentage points. But in the likely states for Donald Trump, Texas and Florida will definitely still be short up in that column. These states are not going to be really as close as people think. And I think that Donald Trump will have these states by similar amounts. I don't think Vance will have too much of an impact on these states in the Sun Belt. I do think that he'll have more of an impact in these Rust Belt states, and that's why Trump picked him. Because if we can see here from the polls, we can see that all the states in the Sun Belt are super, super favorable towards Donald Trump. Meanwhile, the states in the Rust Belt, even though they're still favorable, and recently, these margins have been growing considerably. They used to be a lot lower. I remember Wisconsin actually was a complete tie. Pennsylvania was only Trump +1, and Michigan was, Trump plus less than 1. But all of these Sun Belt states have always been, 4 to 5 point wins for Trump. So I think that main reason why he's picking JD Vance is to appeal to those suburbs and those cities. JD Vance did do good in these cities in the 2022 midterms. He didn't perform as well in the rural areas, but that's what Donald Trump is for. I think Vance is better for the inner cities and those suburbs, and that's another reason why Trump needs him on that ticket. And we're going to see to what effect that ends up having. If we get new polls that come out that might show his favorables, we can gauge a better understanding on whether this pick was truly beneficial on the ticket or if it just, didn't really change too much at all. But I think Trump's assassination attempt also, is going to change this map, and we can't stress enough how it has pretty much changed this map over the past few weeks. I mean, every event that has happened has been pretty good for the Trump team, and Joe Biden over here, can't really, do anything or say anything because it's just out of his control at this point. Stuff happens and it's out of his control, but the momentum is seriously with the Trump team. But, we're going to see what happens. We do have the DNC next month, so that's in quite a while. JD Vance and Kamala Harris did agree to a debate. which I think Vance does have a leg up on because Harris is not popular at all, so she doesn't really have too much to debate on, but we're going to see also on that. But moving back to the map, I think Colorado still is in that likely column, more on that lower end towards 6, and then the states of New York and New Jersey are going to be closer on that higher end. Although now New Jersey, I might see it being under 10 percentage points just because of the two past events that I've been following. And I'm accounting for the fact that the RNC is going to finish in about 2 days, and this map is going to reflect that. This isn't too much of a map of the current state right now. This is more of a prediction of what's going to happen. So yeah, this is going to be the likely states included. Vance and Trump. Trump and Vance are at 219, Biden Harris at 191. And then the lean states for Donald Trump, I think he's going to sweep all of these states right now, especially after what happened on Saturday. I think all of these states in the Sun Belt are going to be pretty secured in his column. And we can see here that the betting markets agree with me. All of these are at almost 80% or higher. And then the polls also agree with me. Arizona plus 5.7, Georgia plus 4.0, Nevada plus 5.0, North Carolina plus 5.4. And, we haven't even seen some of the five-way races that are going to come out where they do have higher margins. I think in North Carolina, the five-way race aggregate is like Trump plus 7, and that's like totally outside of the margin of error. But anyways, states that Biden will win by a lean margin. New Mexico right now is the only state that I'm keeping in that lean margin. Now, all the other states will be moving down from lean to tilt. The only reason why I kept New Mexico in there is because it does have a strong lean toward Democrats. Since Joe Biden won by 10 points, I expect it now to fall down all the way to 2 to 3 percentage points. But now the states that you see here are going to be the closest states, and you can see now again why Trump picked someone from the state of Ohio, because it is central to all of these states that are going to matter the most, especially the state of Pennsylvania, which is going to be the first one to go in that lean column up from tilt. And the reason why I put in the lean column, well, for one, the assassination attempt did happen in western Pennsylvania. I think the appeal from Vance in the state right next to him will help him. And the polls in the state of Pennsylvania have Trump outside the margin of error in that lean column as well. Trump plus 4.5. I think right now Pennsylvania is in that lean column. The Wisconsin won't fall too behind. It'll be around Trump plus 2 to 3 as well. And Trump has been gaining a lot in the polls in Wisconsin as well. He leads now by 3 percentage points. And if we remember, Wisconsin is a state where they underestimated Trump by around 7 percentage points in both election cycles. So this time around, I think these states are going to be in that lean column up from tilt. And now to the tilt states, Democrats will be holding on to, I think, the states of Virginia by a tilt column, Maine at large by a tilt column, Nebraska second by a tilt column. Nebraska second is very left trending, and the only reason why I didn't flip it is because of those trends. I think it'll be a very narrow race, probably less than 1 percentage point. I think the state of Virginia will be between 1 and 2 percentage points. If Trump had picked Youngkin as his VP, I think Virginia would be much more possible to flip. But with Vance on, I don't think it's going to be too beneficial, despite him being pretty close in proximity. I think the state will fall between 1 and 2 percentage points. And the state of Maine, I think, will fall also between 1 and 2 percentage points. Both of these candidates will win their districts by safe margins. But since Democrats will win theirs by a higher margin than Republicans, this would be a slight tilt for the Democrat Party. And now moving on to probably the closest states, in my opinion, Minnesota, Michigan, and New Hampshire. Right now, Michigan, I see as being favored for Donald Trump more than ever. The polls, the poly markets do reflect that. Trump has a 65% chance of winning according to poly market. Now in the polls, Trump is up by 1.3%, which had been coming down a lot from his high of around 4 to 5, but now he is coming back and he's been regaining that lead slowly with new polls that have him up. As I discussed in my previous prediction, Minnesota will be also flipping into that column. It hasn't voted Republican since 1972 when Richard Nixon won by a complete and utter landslide. And I think this could be the election that it flips as of now. And it is very, very hard to say. I think Minnesota is one of those 50-50 states. There are a lot of Democrats who live in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region, but those rurals are going to be very strong for Donald Trump. And I think Saturday's event and what happened yesterday with that pick with Vance is mostly going to resonate in this area over here. Meanwhile, as I discussed, the area down here in the Sun Belt will not really be too much affected. And in the final state of New Hampshire, I have flipping towards Donald Trump. This state flipping towards Trump is not more to Vance's degree, but to the events of Saturday of the attempted assassination of the former president. And the reason why I see that is because, well, New Hampshire doesn't really like incumbents too much. Trump only lost the state by around, I think less than half a point in 2016, but fell far short, about 7 percentage points in the 2020 election. I think Joe Biden is not really liked too much in this state. I still think that he's going to perform relatively well since it is a little bit of a more Democrat than a Republican state. But since these voters, especially in the states of New Hampshire and Maine, are a lot more elastic than the rest of the Northeast, I think this state has the best shot out of all of these to flip. And right now, I think it is going to flip Republican by less than half a point as of now. Same thing with Minnesota, and that'll be the map 326 to 212. I have for my last prediction the state of New Hampshire changing from Democrat to Republican, and this map is going to be continuously updated over the following few months. We have only 112 days, as we can see here, left until the election of 2024. So I don't think too much is going to change. We only have a few more big events coming up, but we never know what could happen, as we saw what happened this week. There's a lot of events that could unfold that we just don't see coming. But events that we do know of do include, the rest of the RNC finishing. We have the DNC. I don't know if we should expect another debate between Trump and Biden, although I think it might happen, and we obviously are going to expect those vice presidential debates. But either way, this is going to be all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe and like and comment on this video and share this with a friend. Thank you guys so much for watching.